handout 3. It's called the CRAAP Test. This comes from California. California State University at Chico developed this for their students. I will start off by saying, even though it says it's like a checklist, don't treat it like a checklist. It is a series of questions in several areas that you need to use to guide your decision on whether or not you have a credible and relevant source. This can be used for any type of source: magazines, newspapers, videos, podcasts, even tweets and blogs and internet sites. Pretty much any source of information, you could use these questions to guide you on making a decision. And it can be used just not for academic, but it can also be used for personal things as well. There are 5 areas, stands for CRAAP: currency, relevancy, authority, accuracy, and purpose. And this particular handout on the back side is a blank one of these that you can put some answers to. All the questions listed here may not apply to the sources that you are evaluating. It's all about context. What is the requirement of the assignment? What type of resources are you required to use? What is the subject of your assignment? Things like that. Sometimes, for example, if you're writing about history, currency may not be an issue because it's everything in the past. But if you're writing about the wildfires in California or the presidential debate, something that is written even 3 months ago may not be current enough. So it all depends on your topic. These are some of the questions you need to ask yourself, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but currency has to do with the timeliness. Relevance has to do with, does it apply to what you need? And a good example I use is that if you are doing a paper, let's say, on the history of jazz in New Orleans, you could have 2 resources, and let's say you only need 5, and you have 7 of them. So you have to make some choices on which you're going to include. And you have a website that is very well documented, got a lot of information, some really great pictures, some really good stuff on it, and a little bit of history about different places within New Orleans where jazz musicians either lived or they spent a lot of time on, and things like that. That's pretty interesting and might be useful. But then let's say you have an academic article that talks about the life of Louis Armstrong and gives a lot of information. That might be more relevant. Or maybe you have a book review of a book on famous jazz musicians. Well, the book review might not be as relevant because it's about another resource. And if you had to rank those as far as relevancy, I think I would start with the academic article that had to do with Louis Armstrong, then move to the website that had to do with places of interest, especially if you wanted to use one of the images. And then the third one, as far as relevancy, would be the book review. And that would be like a last resort because you're talking about someone's opinion about something else. That's what book reviews are. Those are the way you need to look at your resources when you're evaluating whether or not you want to use it. The next one is authority. Who wrote it? Where does it come from? Who's sponsoring the person who's writing it? If it's from, let's say, an organization's website, can you get a hold of the author? There are a lot of times on the internet you have no author or you have no information about the author. Do you want to spend your precious time trying to track down who the author is, or should you move on to something else? These are questions you need to ask yourself. Next thing is accuracy. How reliable and correct is the information? Well, obviously, if you're using a website that has no sources at the bottom, no bibliography, you're going to have to then cross-reference and see if everything is actually not slanted towards one view or another, which is called bias, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. So you need to talk about that. Language seems biased. Peer review. Obviously, if something is peer reviewed and published, then it's going to be pretty accurate. And then what is the purpose? Why are they providing this information? Is it to entertain you? Is it to persuade you to do something? Is it to put forth an argument? Is it to inform and educate you? None of the answers to these questions are bad or good. It just depends on what you need for your research. So these I would keep handy.